Mr. Mark Selby, how are we, sir?
I am very good, Mr. Matthew Gordon. Just getting ready for the holidays here.
I bet you are. You have been. You've had quite a busy year. Few things to do yet, I suspect. But yes, take a well-earned break for sure. We're going to rip through today because you've got a whole bunch of people chasing you on a bunch of stuff and need to get going. So should we start? What we're going to talk about today is some company news, the good and the bad. And we're going to talk a little bit about the market. In fact, why don't we kick off with that? What are we seeing out there with the nickel price?
Yeah, so we had the big moves that we talked about in our last call 2 weeks ago. We had a little pop up back up over 17,000, and now we seem to settle in on the other side of 16,800 a ton. I think it'll be interesting to see. Historically, back 15, 20 years ago, the slowdown around Christmas time. If the market was way long or way short, a lot of time the commodity hedge funds would use that as an opportunity in that low liquidity period to give the market a shove in the new direction. Given where we're trading, obviously that number might be up, but I think between now and Chinese New Year, you might see some pretty big swings up and down. But again, the good thing is we're starting to see some analysts talking about the kind of restocking bump that I've been talking about here for the last 4 or 5 months that might show up in 2024. So again, we'll see what happens through this last week. When we come back in the new year, I will give my forecast for 2024 and review how I did in 2023. But again, I think 2024 is going to be surprising. Will surprise a lot of people. Again, one of the big underpinnings of that, despite the stories of EV sales piling up, inventories piling up, global sales up 38%, year over year in the month, and both in the US and globally. And again, there's no one who's got 40% growth in any of their forecasts for the next while. So, that's so don't use just because people have mispriced auto models. Don't read that one data point into sort of what's happening with the overall sector. So again, we'll see pretty strong growth next year.
Okay, well, just on before we kind of rip into company news, the good and the bad. On that, you talk about maybe some brave analysts are stepping forward and trying to maybe understand the nickel space a bit more than they kind of currently do. Historically, not too ambitious and not too aggressive. Is the kind of bifurcation of the market in the sense of east versus west? Is that a narrative that is starting to be talked about?
Still not as much. No, that's still a whole other sort of gulf that's there. And again, I think as we start to see, I think in 2024, you will see a lot of safe IRA compliant mine sourcing deals happen. Again, we saw a couple get done in the lithium space. But I think you'll see as the year goes on, see in some of the other minerals that, again, people very clearly want access to safe jurisdiction, IRA compliant, non-foreign entity of concern material, that gives them they can put their hand on their heart that they've got nice, clean, green nickel, cobalt, graphite, lithium that they can put into their vehicles.
Right. Okay. Well, let's say we'll have a much fuller discussion in the new year when you make your forecast. So far, 3 and out. In the right direction. You called it.
I think so.
Three times in a row.
Not perfect.
Let's hope that keeps going. Okay. Maybe let's start off with a little bit on let's start with Canada Nickel, if you don't mind. You were aiming to get a strategic in by the end of this year. Are you going to sneak it in?
No, we basically pushed out the Auramet deal by 30 days. We had up to 90 days to do it. And as we said in the release, we expect to get that done within that 30-day period. We'd be crazy to extend it only that period of time if we didn't think that there's something likely to get done this time frame. So it doesn't happen before year end. Look for it in January. So those discussions are continuing to be very constructive.
Okay, I guess like I say, the clues are in terms of the extension period. Okay, let's start with the good stuff first. Western Mines. What are we hearing?
So this Mulga Tank Project. It's a Crawford-like deposit east of Kalgoorlie. Again, some pretty good Crawford-like grades, and the nice thing is, getting some little high-grade splashes in there. So, a meter at 1.8% nickel and 4.8% copper is a nice little bonus to have in there. That's not very wide, but again, that there's systems going on that are increasing the mineralization there. So, again, keep an eye on this one as it develops forward. Then the other big thing is we basically had a bunch of resources come out. I guess the Aussie company's getting them out before, their big Christmas break. Lifezone, which is the company that owns the Kabanga deposit, they got BHP in there for a big payment. Again, BHP could have bought it for a ham sandwich 3 years ago, but they decided to step up with a big check. It's been around since the 1980s. It's a beautiful deposit in a horrible location. It's in Western Tanzania by the border with Rwanda, Burundi, and the Congo. So it's always been a bit challenging to get going. But again, they're now basically about 1 million tons contain nickel, 43 million tons at just over 2% with some copper and cobalt. A big chunk of that open pittable. So again, when I say this is the best undeveloped sulfide deposit, in terms of just the raw resource, this is a good one. We'll see how they go. They've got a polymetallic concentrate they have to deal with. They're talking about using Auramet technology there. So, we'll see how that all comes to fruition. The other one's back in the sort of Western Australia, Kambalda region. So, Widgie nickel, again, they put out some pretty splashy intercepts with over the past year. They put out a resource for their Armstrong deposit, which is 1 million tons at 1.4%. Again, a bunch of that's open pittable, and they've got mills that they can truck the material to. Again, not massive. We're talking about 14,000 tons contain nickel, but if you can just set up a small scale open pit mining operation and get that to a mill, then that's not so bad. They have pushed their scoping study into 2024, so we'll see how that goes. The other smaller player left in the area is London Metals. So they're on the other side of the lake from Kambalda. The good thing there was they did some met work on one of their deposits, and again, they've got a whole little cluster of deposits south of the lake in Kambalda, but produced a 17% con grade out of it, which is great for that region. The other one was around 13, and the good part is not a lot of arsenic. So some of these deposits in WA have arsenic issues with Mincor. The reason they stumbled back and weren't able to deliver concentrate to BHP, which set them on a spiral, which ended up getting taken out. But the arsenic content of some of these deposits, can be an issue to get processed, because even China won't take concentrates that have more than 0.5% arsenic in them. Good thing is London Metals, since they went public a few years ago, they basically increased their total nickel content across the reserve by more than 2x. So again, nice to see some new projects moving ahead. As I said, we need all of the above, and again, particularly IRA compliant resources. Unfortunately, on the negative news front, so Panoramic Resources, we've talked about them a few times and talked some more about it on the last call. They had initiated then a strategic review, but again, obviously, no one leaping up to grab this one. So they filed for bankruptcy. The Australia has some pretty aggressive administration rules, and so they have filed for bankruptcy. Key thing here, and I said this on the last call, people, get excited and get all hyped up about 1.5% and 2% nickel. Well, that's underground. The cost of mining that is way, 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 way higher, right? So its grade is just one variable. And so, this was a past producing mine with a past producing mill. And, the deposit, they've got remnants at the old deposit, and they've got a new deposit that they were developing, and yet they hit the wall on that front. The other guys in some of the on the negative news front, La Mancha is a private company. Basically, it's obviously they've taken control of what's going on at Horizonte. They put one of their people in as CEO, and they swapped out a bunch of board members there. The nice sign for that, and hopefully the Horizonte equity holders are able to salvage something. They've made a great hire with Maryse Belanger taking over as COO. She's an excellent person who's got a great track record of delivering. She was brought in for the Mirabella nickel project with Santa Rita, which struggled back in the late teens. she got that operation turned around. 2 other people had basically completely mismanaged it. She were able to get costs down, production up. Unfortunately, at that time, that was when nickel prices got down to $4 a pound, and she couldn't take out costs fast enough to catch up with the nickel price. But she's got a tremendous track record, and if there's anyone out there who can get that Horizonte project going, it's definitely Marie's. And then the other one, and again, high grade, is just a variable. Independence Group. They acquired Western Areas. Western Areas have been a standalone nickel company for 20 plus years. They acquired it about a year and a half ago. They had an operating mine, and then they had this Cosmos project, which was originally owned by a company called Jubilee Mines, who'd successfully operated back in the early 2000s. So basically, they had a whole, mechanized underground ore system rather than using haul trucks to move the material through. They've now decided to halt that. The capex for the project's gone through the roof. Project's way behind. And so, they're basically saying that they're basically starting to redeploy people in that area, even though they haven't completed the review yet. But that review is going to come out when they report their end of quarter at the end of January. And they're flagging that they're already going to impair the asset more. This is an asset that has a reserve of 10 million tons at 2%. Again, past producing mine, new discoveries, past producing mill, and 2%, 10 million tons at 2% doesn't work. And again, 10 million tons at 2%, would be one of the bigger high grade sulfide discoveries if someone made it. So grade is just a variable. That's just the one thing to keep in mind.
You said we talk about it. We talked about it for 4 years, and that one keeps coming back. Grade is king. There you go. That's a perfect example. 2% is insane. Right. Well, look, you've got to dash off. I do appreciate you making time for us, because I know you've got lots of conversations going on at the moment. When you get to it, have a great Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year, okay?
Yeah, see you in the new year for sure, Matt. Take care. Have a great Christmas.